so today we're going to be talking about expressions and variables and factoring. And so, in order to understand what a variable is, sometimes you need to understand all the terms. And so it starts with a variable term. So a variable term is terms with a variable. So that's anything that has a variable with it is a variable term. So 8x, 5x, 12x. Those are your variable terms. Now, on top of those variable terms, there's going to be a word called a coefficient. And this word's very important. I will tell you it will be on your test, and it's the numbers next to the variable. So that would be 8, 5, and 12. So basically, if a number is next to a variable, it could be a variable that's squared, it could be a variable that's cubed. As long as the number's next to it, that number is called the coefficient, okay? Then you have numbers that are without a variable, and those are called your constant terms. And that means it's constant, it's never going to change. So that would be 1 and 23 and 7. So if you actually highlight these on here and you take the little scribble tool that I've been using, I'm going to circle the variable terms in one color. So I'm going to go circle those in this color right here, so you can kind of see them, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so we can see them a little bit better. So this is a variable term, this one's a variable term, and this one's a variable term because they have the x next to it, has a variable. And then the other one is a constant term. A constant term is one that is all by itself. So it's going to be all by itself, nothing else with it, just all by its lonely self hanging out. So here we go for our constant term. So here is a constant term because it's a number by itself. We're going to have two more constant terms. Here's a constant term, and here is a constant term over here. So we have 3 constant terms. So constant just means a number by itself. Coefficient is the number next to a variable. So let's go through the rest of the notes. So here we have some examples of the constant terms and the variables. So it says write your variable terms. So your variable terms are the ones with an x. So that would be 4x, 7x. Coefficients are the ones that are the number next to a variable. So that would just be 4 and 7. And constant terms are all by itself. So 9 is all by itself, so that would be your constant term. Okay, you can pause it and try 2 and 3, but I'm going to go through those also. So we look variable terms. The 7 has a variable, which is a number next to it. So 7a is going to be your variable. So then your coefficient is 7. And then your constant terms are going to be 1 and 16 because they do not have a variable next to it, okay? Last one. Okay, so this one we have a 6k. And we have an 8k for our variable terms because they have a letter next to it. And then the coefficients, the number in front of the variable is 6 and 8. And then our constant terms are the numbers all by itself, so that'd be 9 and 1. This comes into play later on when you are doing algebra and you have what are called polynomials. But right now we are just trying to learn those 3 terms, okay? And it comes into play because the coefficients are the numbers you add. So like, when you are simplifying an algebraic expression, combining like terms. So when it says combine like terms, it just means to combine the variables that have the letters that are the same, you combine together, and then the numbers that are the same, you combine together. So basically, combining like terms, and like I said earlier, this is simplifying. So combining like terms is just add the same letters together and then add the numbers together. And you'll see in a minute what I mean by this, okay? So let's look at the example. So 12x plus 7x plus 1 plus 7x plus 10. So we have an x here. We have a variable term right there. And then it looks like we have another variable term right here. So it is 12x and 7x. So what you're going to do first is you're going to add these two. So 12x plus 7x is 19x. And then you look at your other two. Those are both numbers. So 1 plus 10 is 11. So all you do is you combine the terms that look the same. So we go through the next example. So let's look and see which ones are the same, which ones have the variables. So this is a variable term, 7x, and then the 2x is a variable term by itself, so we're going to add those together. So 7x plus 2x is 9x plus 4. Usually when you do write it out in standard form, it's always going to be the variable term first and then the constant term. So that's something to remember too as you get into upper level algebra. It's always the variable term first and then the constant. So let's look at the next one. So it looks like we have an n right here. We have a 2n right here. So those are our variable terms. So n, ooh, look, it's an n. What does that mean when it's n? There's no number in front of it. So one thing you need to remember is n equals 1n. So we have 1n plus 2n, which is going to be 3n, plus 7 plus 3 is 20. And that's your answer for that one, okay? So all you have to do is combine your like terms. And then if there's not a number in front of it, that's the identity property that we've covered earlier, okay? So let's look at the next one. We have a 9r and we have a minus 5r. So we're going to do 9 minus 5. You just subtract your coefficients. 9 minus 5 is 4r. And then you just have an 11 by itself, okay? So that's why you need to know what the coefficient is because that's what you're adding or subtracting. So let's go through the last one with this one. So let's look and see. We have a 2k here. Okay, and then, ooh, let's look and see. You have a plus k back here. So those are your like terms. So 2k plus k is 3k. And then you have a plus 14 minus 8. So that's going to be plus 6, and that's it. So this is the first part of what we have today is just learning what the different terms are. You need to know what a coefficient is so that you can know what to add or subtract when you're combining like terms, okay? And a variable term has the number or the variable, and constant terms has the numbers, okay? And so we'll go on, and I'm going to end this video and we'll go on to the next slide and you'll have a video for that. Thanks.